We are not here to discuss common manipulation. We are here to expose the tactical blunder of the narcissistic predator, the single, irreversible miscalculation that guarantees their ultimate, agonizing defeat. They believe they are hunting a mere empath, a soft target whose boundless compassion is ripe for exploitation. What they fail to realize, until the fatal moment of truth, is that they have crossed paths with a super empath, an entity with infinite compassion, but core of diamond-hard, spiritual integrity that, once betrayed, becomes the most destructive force they will ever encounter. This broadcast is a forensic psychological dissection of their fatal flaw. The narcissist views betrayal as currency, a disposable tactic used to extract supply and maintain control. They believe the super empath's high-vibration energy is their infinite fuel source, a well that can be drained without consequence. They mistake kindness for weakness, generosity for desperation, and forgiveness for a permanent state of naive compliance. This misjudgment is not just arrogance. It is a profound error in reading the human psychological battlefield. The big, haunting question that survivors whisper in the desolate aftermath is, why did they crash so hard after I left? Why did my departure seem to genuinely break their system when they discarded everyone else so easily? The answer lies in profound, systemic shockwave generated when a predator attempts to consume something that possesses more fundamental, structural energy than they do. The super empath is not a battery. They are an atomic reactor, and the narcissist betrayal is the switch that triggers the core meltdown. The moment of betrayal is not the end of the game. It is the instantaneous, dramatic turning point. It is the second the super empath's vast, absorbent empathy, the very tool the narcissist weaponized, flips into a cold, clinical, forensic clarity. Their ability to see into the deepest hidden corners of the narcissist's shadow doesn't vanish. It becomes intensely focused, transforming the victim into the most dangerous, accurate, and emotionally detached witness the narcissist will ever face. You have felt the psychic drain, the exhausting effort to keep their manufactured reality intact, and you believed, as they intended, that you were the one holding the universe together. But today, we reveal the secret knowledge. The super empath was not sustaining the narcissist. They were merely delaying the inevitable collapse by providing a massive, buffering reservoir of borrowed emotional stability. Their departure is a removal of the critical support beam holding up the narcissist's crumbling false self. The narcissist operates on a principle of parasitic efficiency, seeking the richest, highest quality supply available to mask their crippling inner shame. The super empath, with their radical forgiveness, fierce loyalty, and profound capacity for understanding, represents the highest possible grade of emotional supply. This is why the narcissist invests so heavily, and why the loss of the singular, premium source creates an unparalleled existential crisis in their damaged psyche. The intensity of the subsequent collapse is directly proportional to the quality of the supply they lost. When a betrayal happens, the narcissist assumes the super empath will simply grieve and remain emotionally available to be vacuumed back in. They cannot fathom the absolute, surgical severity of the super empath's decision, which is not driven by anger, but by a sudden, brutal spiritual necessity, a non-negotiable command for self-preservation. This script is for the survivors who are questioning if their pain was worth it, for those who feel hollowed out by the betrayal. Understand that your sacrifice was not for nothing. You inadvertently collected every single piece of behavioral evidence, every lie, every dark secret, using your powerful intuition as a forensic data recorder. You possess a definitive, comprehensive blueprint of their pathology, and this knowledge is the ultimate psychological weapon that guarantees their defeat. We are laying the psychological groundwork for the inevitable. The narcissist must suffer an unparalleled, self-inflicted punishment for miscalculating your power. Their mistake was not the betrayal itself. They betray everyone but the choice of target. They chose the one person whose departure would not only sever their primary fuel source, but also leave them exposed, witnessed, and held accountable by a soul that understands their mechanism better than they understand themselves. Brace yourself for the exposure, the cold, hard analysis of why their biggest mistake ensures your final, magnificent victory. We are diving into the core pathology to reveal the secret fear that governs their panic, the internal structural deficit that makes the loss of the super empath's energy the one consequence. They are simply not built to survive, leading to their complete psychological unraveling. The The narcissist fundamentally believes a super empathic compassion is a sign of weakness and is therefore infinite and without cost. They look at the super empath as boundaryless devotion and project their own pathology onto it, assuming the love is conditional on the narcissist's needs. They fail to grasp that the super empath's love is structural. It is the way they are built, and betrayal is the only force capable of turning it off, not merely dimming it. The narcissist's motive for betrayal is rarely just for another source. It is often a pathological, compulsive testing of the super empath's limits. They must prove that the loyalty is unbreakable, pushing the boundaries until the victim cracks, thereby confirming the narcissist's power. But in the case of the super empath, they push past the psychological limit and hit the spiritual tripwire, transforming the object of their abuse into their judge, jury, and executioner. The narcissist's deepest fear is the exposure of their core structural emptiness, the chasm of shame that they mask with their grandiose facade. The super empath, through their pure, relentless emotional transparency, reflects the narcissist's true self back at them. The betrayal is a desperate, violent effort to shatter that mirror, but instead, the reflection becomes mobile, armed with the truth, and relentless in its pursuit of authenticity. The super empath absorbs energy at an unparalleled rate. While the narcissist uses this absorption to extract supply, they fail to account for the fact that the super empath also absorbs data, the patterns, the subtle shifts, the hidden contempt, compiling a complete, undeniable case file on the narcissist's behavior. The betrayal is the final piece of evidence required to lock the case, shifting the SE from participant to dispassionate prosecutor. The super empath's high-vibration spiritual core acts as a repellent to the narcissist's low-vibration shame. The narcissist, in their desperation for supply, clings to the SE, but the sustained effort to remain tethered to such a powerful, pure energy source is metabolically exhausting for their pathology. The betrayal is their attempt to stabilize their own chaos, but it only results in them being violently ejected from the power source they needed most. The narcissist misreads the SE's forgiveness as weakness. The SE forgives readily because they genuinely understand the pain and trauma that created the narcissist. This deep, clinical understanding breeds compassion, but when the SE realizes the pathology is willful, a choice to destroy, not a tragic flaw, the compassion instantly evaporates, replaced by a cold, surgical severance. This shift is what the narcissist never sees coming. The core psychological engine of the narcissist is perpetual external validation. They need the super empath's light to prove they are worthy of existence. When the SE leaves, it is not just a loss of one person. It is a loss of the single, most convincing witness who testified to the narcissist's value. The void created is immense, leading to a profound existential questioning that the narcissist cannot soothe with lesser supply. The narcissist suffers from super empath withdrawal, an unparalleled shock to their system. They become psychologically dehydrated, their egos starving for the rich, high-quality emotional fuel that only the SE could provide. Subsequent supply sources feel bland, temporary, and insufficient, driving the narcissist into a frantic, escalating cycle of demand and despair, accelerating their visible social and internal decay. The narcissist's internal chaos is typically buffered by the super empath's relentless effort to manage the environment, anticipate needs, and absorb the emotional fallout. When the SE departs, the narcissist is suddenly left alone with the purer, unmanaged anarchy of their own psyche, the consequence of a lifetime of avoiding personal responsibility. This internal storm is the true punishment. The final failure of the narcissist is their inability to predict the super empath's total, comprehensive shutdown. They expect a dramatic fight, tears, or pleading, anything that generates supply. They are shattered by the SE's cold, absolute silence, the complete refusal to engage. This silence is the sound of the ultimate psychological defeat, the confirmation that the game is over and the predator has been rendered irrelevant. The dramatic turning point is not a loud argument or a grand confrontation. It is a sudden, terrifying moment the super empath's infinite capacity for care snaps into absolute, zero-tolerance objectivity. The switch flips, and the narcissist is no longer viewed as a wounded soul to be saved, but as a predictable, destructive mechanism that must be deactivated immediately. This is the moment the SE turns into the sentinel. The narcissist is conditioned to expect and demand an emotional reaction, a torrent of tears, a rush of anger, or a plea for reconciliation. The super empath's response, the quiet, clinical detachment, the simple statement of, "I see you now and I am done," is a psychological short circuit. The refusal to feed the expected drama denies the narcissist the supply necessary to execute their manipulative counterattack. The shift is visible in the super empath's eyes. The warmth, the hope, and the desperate attachment are instantly replaced by a cold, intellectual awareness. They look at the narcissist and see only the pattern, the mechanism, the pathology. This look, the complete absence of emotional energy, is the most terrifying thing a narcissist can witness, confirming the absolute loss of their control. When control fails, the narcissist immediately escalates to the highest level of emotional violence. The weaponized victim act, the sudden illness, the desperate pleas, and the rapid smearing. This escalation is not a genuine attempt at connection. It is a frantic, high-volume attempt to generate enough chaotic supply to forcibly re-anchor the super empath. But the SE is now immune to the static. The super empath's silence is not passive. It is a tactical, aggressive defense. They do not owe the narcissist an explanation, a final argument, or a dramatic exit speech. The SE understands that any communication is supply. By refusing to engage, they force the narcissist to grapple with the shocking void of their own creation, immediately initiating the psychological collapse. The narcissist's initial reaction is profound confusion, which quickly transitions into a desperate, entitlement-fueled rage. They cannot process the loss because the super empath was fundamentally miscategorized as a permanent, loyal fixture. The narcissist's ego tells them they're the center of the universe, and the SE's non-response proves this central delusion to be a catastrophic lie. The most dramatic turning point for the narcissist is realizing that the SE is the only person who possesses a definitive, documented truth of their secret life. The things the SE's compassion force them to witness and forgive. This knowledge becomes a spiritual deterrent. The narcissist knows that an SE who speaks out does so with unassailable, fact-based authority, making the smear campaign against the SE far less effective over time. The super empath, once liberated, begins a rapid, astonishing ascent. The energy they once poured into managing the narcissist's chaos is instantly redirected into self-creation, healing, and alignment with their divine purpose. This sudden, visible flourishing becomes a secondary, agonizing source of torment for the narcissist, who is now forced to witness the proof of the life they actively tried to suppress. The psychological plot twist is complete when the narcissist, in their desperation, tries to hoover back the SE using the exact same manipulative tactics that triggered the exit. The SE, armed with radical clarity, simply observes the attempt with detached pity, recognizing the predictability of the mechanism and reaffirming their resolve to maintain the distance. The pattern loses its power when it becomes visible. This final, unbreakable wall of silence is the super empath's ultimate weapon. It is the boundary that ensures the betrayal is an irreversible mistake. The narcissist is left pounding on a fortress door that will never open, forced to confront the chilling, devastating truth that their most prized possession, the high-quality supply, has been permanently secured and taken off the market. The immediate consequence of the narcissist is energetic starvation, a sudden, acute crisis caused by the removal of the high-octane emotional fuel provided only by the super empath. They enter a state of psychological hypothermia, unable to generate warmth or stability internally, leading to a desperate, frantic cycling through lesser supply sources that only accelerate their inevitable crash. The social consequences unfold slowly, like a cinematic time-lapse of decay. The super empath's quiet, self-affirming piece serves as a subtle counter-narrative to the narcissist's public smear campaign. People are drawn to the SE's healing light and repelled by the narcissist's escalating, bitter demands, leading to a slow, steady erosion of their social facade and public support. The internal panic of the narcissist escalates into visible instability. They become unable to manage the basic tasks of their life. Their work suffers, their finances crumble, and their manufactured charisma begins to crack under strain of continuous supply hunting. The discipline required to maintain the false self is too high without the super empath's buffering presence, and the mask slips, revealing the sheer desperation beneath. This is the brutal truth of the consequence. The narcissist is forced to sit in the suffocating silence of their own shame core, the one place they fought a lifetime to avoid. The emptiness is now deafening, and there is no super empath there to distract them with endless, misdirected compassion. This psychological isolation is the perfect, tailor-made punishment for a life defined by emotional avoidance and self-serving predation. The collapse is often marked by the emergence of physical and self-inflicted ailments. The narcissist, seeking to reestablish the martyr status that once worked so effectively on the super empath, manifests hypervictimization. However, the lesser supply sources lack the SE's profound caregiving instinct, leaving the narcissist's performance largely unrewarded and the internal suffering completely unsoothed. The most satisfying consequence, seen in the mirror of the later years, is the final, profound contrast between the two lives. The super empath, having reclaimed their energy, is thriving in authentic, reciprocal relationships, surrounded by genuine love and connection. The narcissist is left in a shrinking, desolate circle of bitter isolation, a monument to their own self-serving entitlement and inability to form lasting bonds. The narcissist's ego, built entirely on borrowed external validation, begins to unravel under the pressure of the SE's enduring silence. The grandiose facade cracks, leading to what looks like profound depression or despair. This is not genuine remorse. It is the agonizing tantrum of an entitlement-driven personality realizing they have lost their most vital resource, and the world is no longer interested in saving them. The consequences of betrayal are self-replicating. Every new relationship the narcissist attempts to form fails faster and harder because they are desperate, reckless, and operating on low supply. They burn through people quickly, creating a trail of abandoned victims and wary onlookers that serves as undeniable, accumulating evidence of their destructive pathology. The super empath has continued flourishing, unmarred by their chaos, acts as a constant, silent, powerful accusation. Their genuine happiness is proof of the toxic person's failure. This is the ultimate, long-term punishment. The narcissist is forced to witness the magnificent, successful life of the one person they were pathologically driven to destroy. This collapse is the immutable law of emotional physics in action. You cannot endlessly take from a high-energy source without consequence. Betraying the super empath ensured that the energy loss would be total, the ensuing withdrawal would be agonizing, and the final destination would be a life of profound, bitter solitude, which is the only justice their pathology allows. The final, liberating truth is this. The narcissist's biggest mistake was not the betrayal, but their failure to grasp the existential difference between themselves and the super empath. Their existence is built on a lie. Yours is built on a deep, unshakable connection to the absolute truth of compassion. When the lie encounters the truth, the lie is the one that burns down. Your emotional closure, especially as you look back on this chapter from the vantage point of your secure, peaceful old age, is a profound certainty that your self-worth was never contingent on their approval. The pain of the betrayal was merely the final, necessary catalyst for your ascent, an energetic shock that launched you into the sovereign life you were always meant to lead. The super empath's ultimate victory is achieved not through confrontation or revenge, but through the deep, quiet, undeniable success of their own authentic life. The serenity you possess, the realness of your connections, and the lightness of your spirit are all tangible, powerful testaments to the fact that you survived their worst, and you now thrive in their complete absence. Deliver the final truth punch. The narcissist's attack on your compassion was an attack on your spiritual foundation. By walking away, you did not abandon them. You actively defended your sacred self, recognizing that saving them would have required sacrificing your own soul, a transaction that the super empath's wisdom instantly deemed unacceptable. Your healing is the aggressive, relentless defense of your boundaries. You are not just recovering. You're fortifying your entire spiritual architecture, ensuring that the high-quality energy you possess will never again be offered freely to a parasitic entity. This fortification is your enduring legacy and the proof of your unparalleled resilience. The final closure is complete when the narcissist, in their desperation, tries to find a replacement that offers the same quality of supply, only to fail again and again. You are the high water mark of their life, the ultimate benchmark of the love they were structurally incapable of accepting, and they are condemned to a lifetime of chasing a ghost. The enduring empowerment is realizing that their greatest, most intense mistake, the choice to betray you, ultimately guaranteed your greatest, most beautiful transformation. They sought to destroy you, but instead, they initiated your metamorphosis, turning you from a caring soul into an unyielding, sovereign force of psychological clarity and spiritual strength. The super empath's quiet, long-term victory is a profound realization that the entire toxic entanglement has now shrunk to a single small, non-threatening footnote in the massive, successful volume of your life. The years of anxiety are replaced by decades of unburdened, authentic joy. Look forward to the serenity of your later years, knowing that their collapse was entirely self-inflicted, and your soaring trajectory was entirely self-authored. The ultimate revenge is not a confrontation. It is your enduring, radiant peace, which operates as a permanent, undeniable judgment on their chaotic existence. The super empath is not the prize of narcissist one. They are the consequence the narcissist created. The betrayal was not the end of your story. It was a final, devastating sentence in the tragic, self-written history of their own undoing.